Great to see you, Dr. Buzz.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Dr. Buzz, can people who lie and make a career out of lying, can you tell when they're lying, when they're telling the truth? Is there a way to read into these people?
Well, you know, past behavior is indicative of present behavior, and if someone has a history of being a habitual liar, after a while you just lose faith in what they're saying. They have no credibility, and these individuals have a long history. We all lie. I mean, we all lie, little white lies.
No, we don't.
Well, some of us do.
I just lied right there.
I'm willing to believe we all lie a little, and we also do measured honesty. We don't necessarily tell people the whole truth because we don't want to hurt them. In these situations, these people have spent a lifetime lying, and they lose all credibility, really. People can renew themselves and people can change, but it's hard sometimes to teach an old dog new tricks.
All right, Dr. Buzz, what should we read about this man, according to different witnesses, laughing at the wake,
yes,
laughing when his wife is sick in bed and may never wake up again, laughing when he's talking about, oh, if I would have poisoned her this way, I would have done it like this?
We got to remember that what we're seeing is an inappropriate affect, and people pick up on that. If someone is laughing and they're laughing inappropriately, it kind of jars our senses, and it stays with us, and it stays in our memory. I have kind of a saying here. When you're in an emotional situation, you either laugh or you cry. Now, that doesn't mean that if you laugh inappropriately, that makes you a bad person, but we all deal with emotional reactions differently. You see something and you may laugh, and it may be an inappropriate situation, but it's still an emotional release. So we always got to look at each situation differently. Here, though, Mark Jensen has a pervasive manner about him where he is laughing and laughing inappropriately. So that's significant.
Dr. Buzz, you had an opportunity there to see Aaron Dillard, jailhouse informant,
yes,
testifying on direct. And did you see anything in his body language or in his eyes or in the way he was speaking that would make you question whether or not he's telling the truth?
Well, sometimes people who lie, they become so accustomed to it that it doesn't create any stress or anxiety in them, and they can lie freely. So I'm also going by past behavior. If the person has a history of habitual lying, if the person knows that they can scam people and have a history of scamming people, a history of criminal behavior, that makes them less credible. I just find this whole thing fascinating because Mark Jensen, the minute he gets into prison, within 2 days, he's talking to all these people and he's confessing all these things to all these different inmates. That doesn't sound logical and reasonable in terms of human behavior. Most people who go into the prison system are under stress and anxiety, and they're more isolating of themselves. They don't immediately confess what their crimes are, and they don't immediately become friends with their inmates.
And you know what? He's a human being, Dr. Buzz, and some of us, we just got to talk. We got to talk about big things in our lives. I got to talk to my girlfriends when anything big happens to me. I mean, that's how I am. I can't say that I would be so much better if, you know, God forbid I committed a crime and I go to jail. I might be in there singing like a bird, too.
No, you're absolutely right, and we do have a need to vent, and we do have a need to talk about our stressors and anxieties. We want people, actually, to talk about things because it helps them process. When we talk about his behavior outside of jail, when he's drinking with his buddy, and there's alcohol, and so we're more likely to have less impulse control. We're more likely to talk about our real, true stressors and go the extra steps. We got to remember Mark Jensen never talks about divorce either when he's talking to his buddies and drinking. He's talking about how much he hates her.
Dr. Buzz, help me understand the kind of person, if even she exists, who would take her own life in order to frame her husband.
Well, you know, Lisa, it makes a good movie. I think there was a movie with Gene Tierney star called Leave Her to Heaven, where she actually did this. She couldn't stand the idea that anyone else could have her husband, so she committed suicide and then led the police to blame her husband on her own suicide. And eventually what happens is they find out that she did kill herself, and this her ex-husband then marries her sister. So it has a happy ending. This kind of thing tends to happen, though, only in the movies. We know in reality, people who are going to commit suicide actually have a momentary sense of relief. They start making plans. And certainly this woman was dedicated and in love with her children. Why would she commit suicide and then leave her children with this man that she hated? We got to remember most suicides usually are committed because people don't feel they have choices. Julie Jensen had choices. We know she was talking about divorce. We know she was looking for a job. We know she was talking to her neighbor and that she'd given her neighbor a letter saying that if I die, my husband's to blame. Those are choices Julie Jensen was making because she wanted to live and she wanted to get out of a troubled marriage.
And I want to thank our guest, Dr. J. Buzz von Ornsteiner, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
A-team.